Welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Matt.
And I'm Nina.
Today we're looking at part 2 of our article, Bordering on the Bizarre, a brief look at interesting borders around the world.
Yes, and in part 1 last time, we learned about 2 very interesting borders. The first one being this island, a Spanish island, right? That actually went through a storm and it created a sandy land bridge between the island and the Moroccan mainland. So then it was no longer just an island and it needed a border, which created the world's shortest border. It was only 85 meters long.
Right, very interesting. And then the next interesting border we learned about was the Korean Demilitarized Zone, or the DMZ, that is between North Korea and South Korea.
Yes.
Right, so this border is a long border that actually is 4 kilometers wide, and it spans both sides of the border. So it has parts on each side which are demilitarized, have no military there. And it even contains a peace village within the demilitarized zone. So it has some peacefulness between the 2 countries as well.
I think it's good that they have not just a line as border, but they have the zone, so there is some space, and it's not too dangerous.
Yeah, well, it actually has become a big tourist attraction that people go to visit every year.
Okay.
All right, so those are 2 interesting borders that we've learned so far, but we've got a few more coming up, and we'll look at them after this.
Vatican City and San Marino. The 2 tiny countries of Vatican City and San Marino are entirely surrounded by Italy. These city-states, the 1st and 5th smallest nations respectively, have no passport controls, so you might not even notice the borders if you visit them. Centuries ago, city-states were common, but most of them got eaten up by larger countries. That makes Vatican City and San Marino unusual in our modern age.
Welcome back, everyone. This is part 2 of Bordering on the Bizarre, a brief look at interesting borders around the world.
All right, so let's find out what our next interesting borders are. Vatican City and San Marino. The 2 tiny countries of Vatican City and San Marino are entirely surrounded by Italy.
Oh, that is very interesting.
So they're entirely surrounded. So to surround something means to be all around something. So usually going all the way around. So, maybe if someone is trying to catch you, a group of people are trying to catch one person, they might surround that person.
Yes.
So go all around them, not give them any chance to escape. Or another example, the town is surrounded by forests and mountains, meaning there are forests and mountains all the way around this town.
Okay. So these city-states, the 1st and 5th smallest nations, respectively, have no passport controls. So you might not even notice the borders if you visit them. Okay, so we use the word here respectively, meaning that it is in the order that it was mentioned. Okay.
So in that case, they mentioned first Vatican City and San Marino, so they mean that Vatican City is
the 1st smallest nation,
yeah,
and San Marino is the 5th smallest nation.
Right.
Okay, they have no passport controls, so you might just enter the country and you don't realize you're actually in a different country?
Yeah, that's right. I know that in Vatican City is right in the middle of Rome in Italy, and that the large square in front of Vatican City is actually people think it's in front of Vatican City because it's in front of the large building, but it's actually in the country. So you can actually just walk into Vatican City and you don't even know that you've gone to another country.
That is very cool.
Centuries ago, city-states were common. but most of them got eaten up by larger countries.
Yeah, most likely by the countries surrounding them.
Yeah, so most of, I guess Italy at one point had many of these city-states, but most of them are now just
Part of
cities.
Italy.
Yeah, cities are parts of Italy. That makes Vatican City and San Marino unusual in our modern age.
Wow, it is very unusual. So, century is a noun and it's a period of 100 years. For example, my family has lived in this area for centuries, so many hundreds of years.
Okay. So yeah, these are some interesting city-states, and there are some other, city-states or city countries around the world. Some like, Singapore is one that comes to mind in Asia that is just a city-state. So it's a city that is actually an entire country.
Yes. Okay. So now we're going to take a short break and we will learn more about interesting borders after it. Hello， 大家好，我是 Kiki。我们今天要继续来看一些奇特的边界故事。那么下一个是梵蒂冈城和圣马力诺，这两个小国完全被意大利包围。那这些城邦没有入境检验处，所以如果你到访这两国，可能甚至不会注意到你到了边界。好，单字 surround 它是动词，表示环绕、包围，那常常用被动来表示。Century 则表示世纪。那么文中它用到 city-state 是指城邦的意思。其实在几个世纪前，城邦是很常见的，但大多数都被更大的国家并吞了，这使得梵蒂冈城还有圣马力诺在我们现代的年代呢显得很不寻常。那这边有一个重点，我们要进入文法时间。好，这边我们来整理 eat up 做及物用的意思。第一种呢，它可以表达吃完，那其实也可以用来指向吞噬并吞的意思。举例来说 ，eat up your food before it gets cold， 在食物冷掉之前把它吃完。那第二个我们可以用 eat up 去表达耗费、耗用，像是耗费时间资源等等。举例来说 ，The medical bills had eaten up most of his savings， 医疗费花光他大部分的积蓄了。好，那我们接着回到课文中。
Haskell Free Library. The Canada-United States border has one of the world's oddest border points. The Haskell Free Library was opened in 1904 and is a public library that straddles the two countries. The main entrance is in the US, but the majority of the library sits within Canada, and visitors can enter from both nations. There's no need to show your passport to get in, but when you leave, you must return to the country that you came from. As these examples show, land borders are far more than just lines on a map. They show the beautiful strangeness of our global jigsaw.
Welcome back. So we just learned about two more interesting borders, and those are both with two tiny countries that are entirely surrounded by Italy, and that is Vatican City and San Marino.
Yes.
And Vatican City is actually the smallest country in the world, and San Marino is the 5th smallest country in the world.
Yes.
Both of these countries do not have passport controls, so you could just walk in and not even know that you're there.
That is definitely really cool.
And also these kind of city-states at one time were very common a long time ago, that there'd be many small countries, but most of them just became parts of larger countries, except for these exceptions like Vatican City and San Marino.
Okay, so now we're going to learn about a few more interesting borders, well, countries with interesting borders. So now let's look at Haskell Free Library. The Canada-United States border has one of the world's oddest border points. Okay, let's take a look into it. First, we mentioned how it's a very odd, right? Very odd border point. So odd is an adjective and it means strange or unusual. For example, Beth was saying some very odd things last night.
I think the Canada-US border actually has quite a few odd points, actually.
Oh, really?
Because when you look at it it's the world's longest land border.
Yeah.
So when you look at it on a map, it just looks like a straight line.
Yes.
But actually, when you look very closely at it, there's a lot of little points where it goes north or south a little bit to go around something.
Oh.
So there's a lot of strange points along the Canadian-American border that not many people are aware of, actually.
Huh. I mean, I guess it makes sense if it's that long. Maybe you're going to have some interesting...
Right. There are some times when it needs to go around something for some reason or another.
Okay.
Okay. The Haskell Free Library was opened in 1904 and is a public library that straddles the two countries.
Straddles the two countries?
So to straddle means to stand on either side of something or to have one leg on each side of something. So for example, when you ride a horse, you need to straddle the horse, have your legs on either side. So in this case, this library has points that are on both sides of the border. They have points in the two countries of Canada and America.
So it could almost be like the library itself is the border.
The main entrance is in the US, but the majority of the library sits within Canada, and visitors can enter from both nations.
Wow. So you go in and you could, you could meet Americans or meet Canadians. Oh, so the entrance is in America, right? The entrance is the way into a place. So inside, to go inside somewhere, you have to go through the entrance. And the opposite of that would be the exit, is when you go outside. So an example for the entrance is on the other side of the building. Okay.
So they said the majority of the building is in Canada. So majority meaning the part that holds the most of something.
Yeah.
So usually we use it with of following it, meaning, the most of that thing. So they talk about the majority of the building, meaning most of the building is in Canada. So another example, the majority of people in the country speak more than one language.
Okay.
So that means, most people in the country speak more than one language.
Okay. So continuing, there's no need to show your passport to get in, but when you leave, you must return to the country that you came from.
Okay.
That makes sense. So I guess if you want to leave on the other side, I wonder if you can show your passport and just enter a different country.
I think, I think they would need to have the proper passport control officers at that building.
So I wonder if they have those officers there.
They might need, I guess they would need to have some security to make sure that people aren't just passing through the building.
All right. So you have to return to the same place you entered, right? So return is to go back to a place. For example, I'd like to return to that restaurant because the food was so delicious.
As these examples show, land borders are far more than just lines on a map. They show the beautiful strangeness of our global jigsaw.
What's a jigsaw?
A jigsaw is referring to a jigsaw puzzle, and a jigsaw puzzle is a puzzle that is cut into many pieces and
shapes.
Many shapes that fit together, just like the borders of countries. All right, so we have a question here.
Yes, I will ask you, Matt.
Okay.
Which of the borders described in the article sounds like the most interesting to visit?
Okay, to me, San Marino sounds like the most fascinating.
Okay.
As I've actually read a bit about San Marino before and watched some videos, and they have their unique local culture and their unique local festivals held within the city.
Yeah.
I think they have this special horse racing festival, which looked very exciting to watch. So I think it's very interesting to have a country within a country and that you can so easily go from Italy to San Marino so you can see the cultural differences that exist even though there's no passport control.
Yeah, I think that is very cool. I personally think I would want to visit the border in Korea.
Okay,
so
the demilitarized
yes,
zone.
the DMZ. So I think it's really cool that it's not just a simple border, but it's actually a whole zone, a whole area that you can visit. Yeah.
Okay. So I hope you've learned some interesting borders that maybe you can add to your list of places to visit. And I think you should start planning right away because we're done for today. See you later.
Bye. 加拿大和美国的边界有着世界上最奇特的边界点之一，那就是赫斯克尔免费图书馆。它是在1904年开馆，那是一间横跨2国的公共图书馆。它的主要入口是位在美国，但是图书馆大部分是位在加拿大境内。那访客可以从2国来进入，进去的时候你不需要出示护照，可是离开的时候你从哪个国家来就必须回到那个国家。我们来看单字 odd 它是形容奇特的、奇怪的。Entrance 则表示入口、大门。Majority 它表示大多数、大部分，是当名词。再来看到 return 它当动词可以表达回到、返回。当这个意思解释时，它是不及物用法，后面可以接 to 加名词去表达说回归某个地点。我们看到这2天的课文就可以了解到，正如这些例子所显示的，陆地边界绝不只是我们地图上看到的线，那些界限，实际上呢是有许多有趣奇特的景象等着我们去发掘哦。好，这边有2个重点，我们要进入文法时间。好，我们来看第一个重点是 no need， 它是指某事物没有必要。那以下介绍2种常见的句型。第一个是 there is no need for somebody to 加原形动词，或者是 there's no need to 加上原形动词。例如 stay out of this。There's no need for you to get involved. 别管这件事，你没必要卷入这件事。那第2个句型是 There is no need for 加上名词，例如 There's no need for action at the moment. 目前并不需要采取行动。好，那第2个重点是 as 做连接词的用法。首先呢，它可以表达正如、如同的意思，例如 Just as we expected, he didn't show up.就如同我们预期的一样，它没出现。那第2个意思呢，可以表达当什么什么的时候，这时候呢，意思就相当于 while 或者是 when， 像是 I was just thinking about you as you called。你打电话来的时候，我正好想到你耶。那第3个意思可以表达因为，这时候就相当于 because。举例来说 ，Greg may need some help as he's new to the job。Greg 可能需要协助，因为他才刚开始做这份工作。好，那么以上这些讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Vatican City and San Marino. The 2 tiny countries of Vatican City and San Marino are entirely surrounded by Italy. These city-states, the 1st and 5th smallest nations respectively, have no passport controls, so you might not even notice the borders if you visit them. Centuries ago, city-states were common, but most of them got eaten up by larger countries. That makes Vatican City and San Marino unusual in our modern age. Haskell Free Library. The Canada-United States border has one of the world's oddest border points. The Haskell Free Library was opened in 1904 and is a public library that straddles the 2 countries. The main entrance is in the US, but the majority of the library sits within Canada, and visitors can enter from both nations. There's no need to show your passport to get in, but when you leave, you must return to the country that you came from. As these examples show, land borders are far more than just lines on a map. They show the beautiful strangeness of our global jigsaw.
Hey, it's Kiwi on the street. I'm Kiki.
And I'm Winnie. Wow, this guy, he's really lost in his book.
Lost in his book? What do you mean? He's right here.
Oh, no, that means he's really into his book. He's really concentrating.
Oh, so it's another one of those phrases.
Exactly.
Let's work on some new phrases.
All right, let's work on some phrases. Okay, so please pick the correct phrase.
Snow job. I think it's wind job.
I guess it's wind job.
Snow job.
Wind job.
Snow job.
Maybe I choose snow job.
Snow job. Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, yes.
Correct. So we
let's
have.
get it.
Let's get it. Okay, we have.
走下坡，年华老去。
Oh, over a hill.
Over the hill.
Up the hill.
Over the hill.
Over the hill.
Up the hill. Over the hill.
Let's see if you're correct.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yay! All right, so it's over the hill. What did we learn today? Today we learned some new phrases. Let's check them out. The first one is snow job, and it is when someone tries really hard to make someone believe something by saying things that are not true. They are trying to cover something up. Sometimes a snow job is also when someone uses a lot of flattery to try to get someone to do something they want. This phrase came from World War II, and it came from another phrase, snowed under, which means to be covered by a lot of snow. And there's a sense of helplessness when you're overwhelmed. So both of these phrases represents things that are being covered up and hidden from plain sight. Our next phrase is over the hill. This phrase is used to describe someone that is of old age. Their prime is over. They're not as energetic or as active as they used to be. The idea of the hill represents the peak of your life, and when we spend our youth climbing up, we climb over the hill. When you finally get over that hill, you've shown your achievements and progress. Those are our phrases for today. Kiwi later!